NVIDIA, Palantir, Tesla, really historic runs, Ethereum and Bitcoin, right? So we believe that Hyperliquid is the next opportunity that fits in those verticals because we think it's globally accessible, next generation infrastructure. But more importantly, it's hard for investors to do a concentrated bet or build a portfolio around different ecosystems. Hyperion DeFi solves all of that because we represent and get exposure to all of the valuable components of Hyperliquid, including markets, deployment of assets to institutional clients, Hyper EVM protocols, and of course, the growth of Hyperliquid itself. And so it's a comprehensive all-in-one package.
Welcome to The Upside with Lou Basenese, where it's our mission to give you access to the people, the technologies, and the companies that have the potential to deliver outsized gains in any market. And today, I'm extremely excited to be joined by Hyunsu Jung, the CEO of Hyperion DeFi. Welcome, Hyunsu.
Hi, Lou. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for making the trek to New York here. For those that are completely unexperienced, don't have any clue about crypto, don't have any clue about what Hyperion's doing, if you had to, in a sentence or two, tell us what you're all about and what the potential is, how would you do that?
Yeah, I'll start by explaining Hyperion DeFi. Our vision is to become the ideal gateway for retail and institutional investors to get comprehensive exposure to all of the valuable components of Hyperliquid, which is a blockchain product that's been built for perpetuals trading primarily and has now expanded to trading perpetuals for equities, FX, commodities, and various other assets.
So this is like a new platform for trading futures and all types of different assets that many people might not have heard of before.
Yes, and it's actually been around since 2023 and is now really breaking into the mainstream. It's got a lot of distribution through applications like MetaMask, Phantom, and Rainbow Wallet, and we expect that it'll grow quite a bit this year in 2026 as well.
So this is for people that maybe missed early on, the early days of Bitcoin and the development of that and the first blockchain. This is a new and unique ecosystem to be involved with, would you say?
Very much so, but it's also one of the highest revenue generating blockchain platforms. And at its peak last year, actually was doing around 30% of all blockchain revenues across all applications and blockchains.
Okay, very interesting. So revenue producing creates some interesting opportunities for you as a company and for investors. We'll get to that. But let's take a step back in a second. As if I'm surveying the landscape of the market, right? Last year, there was an explosion of DAT strategy companies, crypto companies. I think last count I saw was over 100. How do you differentiate yourself from that crowded market, noisy market where there's, at least 25 plus Bitcoin only companies out there?
Yeah, we saw a lot of exuberance last summer with a lot of the digital asset treasuries coming out. And what we saw was a lot of buy and hold strategies. And the way Hyperion moved very quickly and precisely was developing 5 different business lines over the remainder of 2025 that are entirely generating revenue on chain. And so that is a strategy that not many digital asset treasuries have been able to implement. And it comes down to the utility of the underlying asset or token.
So there's 5 different revenue streams. Can we step through those? And then how does that translate back to you as a public company where you can actually earn part of that income from those revenue streams?
So we broke it down, cut it in 2 verticals, right? The first half is what is the asset or the asset selection? We chose Hype, which is the native token of the Hyperliquid blockchain. And then on the other side of the equation is what are the strategies that enable you to deploy the assets to generate revenue? So we started with validator operations. We moved into DeFi monetization, which was being able to deploy the asset through unique products like our Hype asset use service, or launching markets through the HIP3 or HIP3 market deployments, and also doing activity on chain on the Hyper EVM, which is a network of smart contract applications unique to Hyperliquid. So all of those combined compound over time, and they are varied sources of revenue for the company.
And then just how do you architect that? It sounds like this launched in 2023. You put the strategy together middle of last year. Talk to me about the legwork that's been put together to get you to this point where you feel like you're ready to scale.
So it's really years in the making. So I've personally been in the space for about 10 years. And my previous role at Dharma Capital, which is a $1 billion asset manager registered with the CFT and the NFA, my job was finding ways to optimize utility of assets like Ethereum or Filecoin. And so there were ways to basically use the utility of the asset uniquely and deploy it into the ecosystem. And if done correctly, you're able to compound that position and generate revenues. And when I saw the utility behind the Hype token, I knew that doing it through Hyperion was the best way to build an actual business that exposes investors to DeFi.
Okay, and that was the catalyst for you to start this company. Is that, walk us through that, where you're just like, I'm leaving this good paying gig that is, focused on well-known names like Ethereum in the crypto space, and now we're going to go onto a new adventure.
So the thing about crypto or digital asset space is that early investors that have conviction and a very good outlook for the future have always been rewarded. right?
Yeah,
and so
very true.
Hyperliquid being very early, having been in the space a long time, there was a convergence of things that made me say, okay, if we do this the right way, we have a really, really amazing asymmetric opportunity.
Yeah.
And personally, having been involved in Hyperliquid since 2023, I knew that the team behind it, the other builders, and the potential reach of the product as a global platform was going to be something that was going to be really explosive in terms of growth. And the public company vehicle was the best way to get involved, help it grow, and monetize from that activity.
And why do you think the public company route is the best way? I mean, I'm curious to hear that because so many other people are doing it that way as well. What were the variables there that made it make the most sense?
So probably the most valuable is the public company engine, or being able to use volume, taking down cash like we've seen from Strategy and Bitmine, and be able to use that to accumulate the asset. Now, Hype has a fixed supply of 1 billion tokens, and it's a lot smaller in market cap. Currently, it's a little bit under $10 billion. And so if you're able to generate a lot of momentum, accelerate, and be able to accumulate capital, you're able to take a lot of that hype down. And more importantly, with our strategies, deploy that into various revenue generating arms that are both fixed and tied to revenue share. So there's scalable revenue models that involve all using the utility of the Hype token.
So you're essentially using the Hype token and the portfolio that you establish that's your lending base, for a lack of a better term. I'm just trying to put this in common terms. Like, right? It's like if I think of banks and institutions, they have deposits, right? Now there's 19 different ways I can use those deposits to generate revenue. I mean, is it a similar concept here? And
I actually need to take that from you, Luke, because you've nailed it. That's in a very simple nutshell. That's what we do. Is we find clients that want to use the utility of the Hype token, and we can charge them fixed or variable rates. But the end product is very unique. You have things like fee reductions for trading on Hyperliquid. You have deployment of markets. You have things called aligned quote assets, and all of these are digital Hyperliquid first primitives that require the Hype token, but enable the product and user base of Hyperliquid to expand globally. Yeah, and that's where the really exciting.
So for the novice, I mean, this is a way to participate early stage in the build out of a new token, new system that's generating revenue. They don't necessarily need to know how the sausage is made like a bank. It's just understanding that, look, at the end of the day, there's multiple lines of revenue and income, and that drops to the bottom line. The faster you can grow your deposits or assets, in this case, the more revenue and income you can generate, obviously, from that.
That's exactly right. And the part that I would add is, by doing all of these activities, we are also improving the product base and user base for Hyperliquid. And one of the things that made us really compelled and a lot of conviction behind the ecosystem is 99% of the fees that are generated on Hyperliquid are going back to buy back the Hype token. So
it's a positive feedback loop.
Exactly. It's a DeFi flywheel. And so last year, around $850 million of fees went to buying back the Hype token. And by the end of 2025, it removed about 13% of the circulating supply of Hype tokens from the market.
So it's natural. The more activity you're generating on chain becomes a natural buyer, just like a permanent floor that's really there, and it's a bid in the market.
That's correct. And so from the pure treasury side, that's a tailwind that just does not exist in other ecosystems.
Yeah, that's interesting. My mind automatically wants to go like, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin and the price collapse? Like, let's talk broader market outlook in terms of, and then how you fit into that. I mean, what do you make of the sell-off in a lot of crypto, the back half of 2025, and what does that mean for 2026? I mean, was it a necessary cleaning out of the market of speculation to build for the next leg higher? I mean, how do you view that?
So, anyone that's been in the digital asset space a long time, volatility is the name of the game. But if you zoom out, since 2023, Bitcoin being around $20,000 or so, incredible run. 600, 700%. And now you seeing a pullback, but you've also, over the summer in 2025, you had a ton of capital come in to buy digital assets. So that's kind of what you want to see in terms of like peak exuberance, euphoria. And then now the dust, as it starts to clear, a lot of these companies and investors are looking at where is the opportunity. That's also in tandem with the explosion or really a strong rally across metals, right? Gold, silver, AI, now you have defense and other industry and sectors that are getting a lot of attention, like space, for example, as well. And so it is very crowded in just the general investing arena. But we think that there are certain opportunities in the digital asset space where next generation infrastructure is being built. And that is where Hyperion is entirely focused.
Yeah. So it's funny. I look at early stage tech all my career and use the hype cycles where you had this like peak of inflated expectations, then you come back down the trough of disillusionment. I feel like that was the 2025. Like people are trying to figure it out, and now we're setting for the next stage. Which brings me to, what are some of the recent developments that you think are the most meaningful for you as a company that potential shareholders should be aware of?
Yeah, so we've only really been doing this for 6 months, since June of 2025, and in that time we've moved very, very quickly. So we've developed, like I mentioned, proprietary products like the Hype Asset Use Service. We've deployed markets for users globally to trade Tesla, Coinbase, Circle, gold, silver, right? Those are all products that we've helped deploy. And then more importantly, we've gotten the full support of the board. We've rounded out the CFO, former head of capital markets at PayPal. We're bringing on a general counsel soon that is over 30 years of experience in M&A and corporate traditional finance. And we're going to really look to build a platform and a company that is able to bridge traditional finance to DeFi and do it in a way that's comprehensive and accessible to investors.
So you're really just now getting ready to launch. I mean, you're putting all the pieces together. You've got all the infrastructure laid, and now this is really go time in terms of the capital markets. And the
2026 is going to be the year where we expect to really turn up the dial in terms of everything that we built. But we've laid an extremely strong foundation that we are seeing a lot of institutional interest from potential counterparties to participate, because Hyperliquid is growing in terms of adoption globally for users that want to come and trade any asset anytime.
So talk to me about, what are catalysts that people can expect that'll be markers of your success, of you scaling, that would be, in this, in a traditional equity sense, we'd look at, what are sales and earnings per share and apply multiples to that. None of that applies in early stage companies, especially when it's early stage in a new digital asset. So what do you see as the CEO, as the markers of success and catalysts?
So we actually put out guidance at the end of our third quarter that we would do around 31 to 40% increase in revenue growth over the fourth quarter. And there's, again, two components, right? If Hyperliquid continues to see growth in metrics, users, daily average fees, right? It's doing around 1.5 to 2 million daily average fees today. If that doubles or triples in 2026 due to the launch of new products, like additional assets to be able to be traded, that means more fees. That means greater tailwinds behind the Hype token. In tandem with that, as our business lines continue to grow, we should be able to see in our reporting new partnerships, new primitives, and new ways to bring users to Hyperliquid.
When you say new primitives, what does that mean to the layman?
Yes. So for example, right, Hyperliquid first started to trade digital assets. Now you can trade non-crypto assets, like we mentioned, equities, commodities, FX. A lot of those from our partners are being listed soon. For example, our partners Kinetic, which is a leading liquid staking protocol on Hyperliquid, they will be launching their markets on the 12th of January. And that's going to be another way to see who's trading, what's the liquidity, and will that bring more users to Hyperliquid?
Got it. Makes sense. How do you look at the market now? Like, is there a competition to this? I mean, what are the other ecosystems that you're competing against? How do you view competitive threats and challenges?
So that's a really great question. We don't even compare ourselves to other ecosystems. I have a lot of respect and appreciation for the founders and builders on Ethereum, Solana, and any other ecosystem that's been around for a long time. But Hyperliquid structurally and also from a technical perspective is so differentiated, and it is innovating so quickly that we will continue to see users recognize that this is the place, the blockchain to build on. And in terms of the Hyperliquid, call it digital asset treasury space as a whole, we are the only public company that has deployed actual products that are generating revenue today. So we want
interesting. So that's a key differentiator, right? I mean, if you look across the space, so you're deploying products as well. So there's no way for anyone else to copy what you're doing. I mean,
they're welcome to try.
Yeah. I guess, is that a competitive threat potentially?
So to be honest, we appreciate the fact that there are other public companies that want to acquire Hype and support the Hyperliquid ecosystem. We think that it's great, and more awareness and more adoption is pivotal, and everyone can win, right? Because we're all working to make Hyperliquid the best platform to access financial services. And by doing so, we believe that there are more than enough partners globally that we can work with to help bring that activity and earn revenue from doing so.
Yeah. And then what kind of partners are they? I mean, help us articulate who your ideal customer and partner is.
Yeah. So for example, last September, we onboarded a firm called Credo, which is a proprietary trading firm. But think about in that vein, right? Hedge funds, HFT, family offices, anyone that's positioned. For example, you could be long gold or commodities, you could be long equities, and you want to hedge that position and you want to do it using derivatives, you could do it on Hyperliquid today. Right? So So we're looking for those kind of like institutional clients to trade on our markets and on Hyperliquid in general. And then teams that are looking to deploy new products on Hyperliquid themselves. And then also on the protocol side or applications that are building on Hyperliquid directly in the DeFi application space.
So just out of curiosity, how are they putting on those hedges now? I mean, are you trying to get them to transition off of traditional exchanges to now onto this one? I mean, what's that process and what are the kind of the decision points for them? Like what convinces them that this is the future, this is the way versus the way that they've been doing it, old guard Wall Street?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. And the way that it exists today is using a lot of the incumbents, right, brokers and having those relationships. But what's really interesting about a perpetual future is that it can track the price of any asset, but you're able to hold the position in perpetuity because of something called a funding rate. Okay. And funding rates for specific products can actually generate yields from like 7 to 10% on average for holding the other side of the position. So if you want to be long Tesla, but you want to like hedge it on the other side, you can get paid better than in other platforms to be able to do so. And you're able to self-custody the assets. You don't take counterparty risk.
What is the better economics? Is that because of the decentralization? You're removing middlemen and counterparty risk? And I mean, how does that play into it?
Yes, that's correct. And also you have users on the other side, for example, that may not be able to access US equities globally that say, I want to be long Tesla and I'm going to do it through Hyperliquid. And then you as like an institutional player or even an individual can take the other side of that trade. And so you're creating more efficient pricing mechanisms for any asset, and you're able to do it on chain, self-custodied, and
Okay, super interesting. So what are the risks? I mean, what keeps you up at night as a CEO? What are the things you were worried about that could derail your plans or make it a little bit more challenging, which, every CEO has to overcome some obstacles. So what are the ones you fear?
Yeah, so we've managed all of the custody side. We're very confident in our security. We're confident in in mitigating all the counterparty risk we take when deploying our assets because it's all on chain using systems like multi-sigs and making sure that we have unilateral control. And then obviously, I think the biggest question is just price volatility, right? Yeah. Can hype is call it a little bit down, a little bit from like 50% down from the all-time high. Could it go lower from here? Could it go higher? Could it be range bound? The beautiful thing is we have built products that are agnostic to the price of hype. So for example, assets that are trading that we've helped deploy, they're paying fees in dollars. Right. So it doesn't matter what the price of hype is or the performance of crypto markets. It's about, are we able to list assets that people want to trade regardless of the state of the market?
Right. So then you have a steady income stream that is coming from that regardless of the price of hype and the underlying asset.
Correct. And ideally, as we continue to scale and Hyperliquid grows in its adoption, more and more users are coming to trade on those markets. And so our businesses are able to scale with the growth of Hyperliquid. And so you again have that flywheel effect that can be very, very powerful.
And what's the capital cost for you to scale, right? As you keep growing the business, I mean, is it all drop to the bottom line? Is it a very high incremental margin, or you got a significant capital you have to redeploy into systems and infrastructure?
So that's what I found when I was working at Dharma, right? When we deployed Ethereum or Filecoin, running $300 million to $1 billion on chain means that you can monitor, manage, and mitigate risk with very, very few people. Okay. So take that in tandem with the fact that AI augmentation of employees is happening in real time today. We live in a world where, yes, we are building an extremely scalable business and we can, click a few buttons, punch a few lines of code, and now you've got products that are live that you can deploy across various clients or customers.
Without having to increase a ton of headcount, technological investments.
That's correct, because it's all managed using blockchain infrastructure.
Okay, so how many people is the company right now, and where do you kind of see where you'll be fully staffed at? What does that look like?
So currently the headcount is around 9, half is towards the Optijet and the previous legacy technology, and around 5 towards the DeFi business. And to be quite frank, we're already getting a lot of traction without having to expand headcount, but obviously we want to be very mindful and considerate about how we expand our business and build out verticals that could be additive to our business. And so always looking for ways to be very creative and innovative and find ways to really push forward in the space of DeFi. Yeah,
so very lean operations, preserving that asymmetric upside potential. What would you say? I mean, the name of the show really is the upside. So what do you think the upside here is as an early adopter or someone just coming and figuring out what Hyperion's up to?
So I think that there have been numerous really, really amazing opportunities in the crypto space and also in really emerging technology, right? NVIDIA, Palantir, Tesla, really historic runs. And they were quite low for a long time. Solana at $8 back in 2022 or 2023. Ethereum and Bitcoin, right? So we believe that Hyperliquid is the next opportunity that fits in those verticals because we think it's globally accessible, next generation infrastructure. But more importantly, it's hard for investors to, just do a concentrated bet or build a portfolio around different ecosystems. Hyperion DeFi solves all of that because we represent and get exposure to all of the valuable components of Hyperliquid, including markets, deployment of assets to institutional clients, Hyper EVM protocols, and of course, the growth of Hyperliquid itself. And so it's a comprehensive all-in-one package.
And so fast forward as a potential, return profile, what does that look like? I mean, we're talking you use the comparisons of NVIDIA, Ethereum, Solana, Bitcoin. We're talking thousands of % potential upside. I mean, is that accurate, or do you see it being slightly different now because it's coming through the public markets?
So quite frankly, I don't want to comment on
No, I'm not asking that. Yeah. So I guess, what's the market cap today as we sit here?
A little lower than $40 million market cap.
Right. I was going to say sub 100. Mm-hmm. Where do you, if all things go right, how big is the market cap potential for you guys?
So I guess I can speak to the total addressable market and the serviceable addressable market. So, TAM for digital assets, being able to trade anywhere, anytime on chain, we think it's going to be Hyperliquid, but it's going to be a completely globally accessible infrastructure, especially with the trend of tokenization and all assets eventually becoming financialized, right? You're seeing JP Morgan, for example, bring $100 million money market fund into Ethereum at the end of last year. And then in terms of the serviceable addressable market, it's any entity that is, in a world that's becoming increasingly financialized, wants to position, hedge, direction, right? There's even go neutral.
Yeah.
You can do that across venues. And we think Hyperliquid will be the landing page for all of that. And as that grows, our products will be growing with them. And that's where the opportunity for Hyperion is that not just the value of your treasury, but how can the revenue scale as our products also become more adopted in this space.
Yeah. So if you bring the entire financial economy on chain, we're talking literally trillions of dollars of wealth that could transfer across these systems in different products in different ways, in different manners.
Yeah. So on that point,
I don't want to pin you. I know you got to be careful with lawyers and stuff, but
yeah. To that point, crypto today is the total market cap is a little bit over $3 trillion.
Right.
We expect several more $1 trillion to come on chain because it will eventually be tokenized, right?
Yeah.
Stable coins, real world assets, and as those assets are positioned and they're trading hands, different financial counterparties will want to, again, hedge or compound those positions. And Hyperliquid today, we believe, is the best venue and will continue to maintain that position as it innovates on new products.
Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking the time to explain it to us. I appreciate you making the distinction between, the buy and hold strategies and the unique differentiated approach you're using with Hyperliquid. So I would love to have you come back on and give us updates as you execute against the plan ahead in 2026.
Thank you so much, Lou. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.